The galaxy had forgotten the name of Earth. It was nothing but a myth whispered among old traders and explorers. They said humans once ruled the stars. They built ships that could move faster than thought and weapons that could turn moons to dust. But those stories faded, replaced by the cold rule of the Empire for thousands of years. No one had spoken the name of humanity aloud. Deep beneath the surface of a dead planet, under layers of sand and stone, something waited. Buried inside a mountain of rust and silence, an enormous machine slept. Its black hull was half broken. Covered in scars from wars no one remembered. No one alive even knew it existed. But inside the darkness a faint blue light pulsed. Once every few seconds, like the heartbeat of something ancient and alive. The ship was called Erebus, humanity's last prototype warship. Built at the end of the final Terran War. It was meant to be unstoppable, a ship that could think, learn, and fight on its own. But before it could launch, the war ended, and humanity disappeared. The project was abandoned, the world forgotten. The machine left to dream in silence across the galaxy. In a small mining ship near the Forbidden Sector, a young alien captain named Varen noticed something strange. A signal, weak but steady. Repeating every few seconds, it came from a dead system. One marked on every map as quarantined zone, no entry. Varen frowned and checked the readings again. The pattern was too precise to be natural. It wasn't a star, it wasn't a planet, it was something trying to speak. Impossible, he whispered. Nothing lives there. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. He boosted his scanners, trying to lock onto the source for a moment. His ship's lights flickered. His console went dark and every system reset. When the screens came back on, the signal was gone. Only the words "error, unknown frequency detected" flashed across the display. He didn't know it yet, but that pulse had reached beyond his sensors. It had been heard by something sleeping under the sands of Earth. Far away in the Imperial capital, the signal was detected too. The High Council of the Empire gathered in their shining hall of crystal and gold. Sector 9A has emitted a pulse of pre-collapse origin, one scientist said nervously. The room filled with laughter. Pre-collapse? You mean human? One general scoffed, the others chuckled. The humans are extinct myths for children. But the Emperor didn't laugh. He leaned forward and said softly, "Send a recon fleet." Days later, a small Imperial armada entered the Sol system. The planet they found was a wasteland. The oceans were gone, the air thin, the cities buried under dunes. Nothing alive, one officer reported. But under the scanner noise, faint energy signatures flickered. At first, they thought it was radiation. Then the readings grew stronger, forming patterns. Pulses, almost like a heartbeat. Strange, the commander murmured. What could be alive down there? The ships descended into orbit, dropping probes through the dead sky. The moment the first probe reached the surface, its signal cut off, then another and another. A low vibration rolled through the ground, shaking dust from the mountains. Seismic activity? An engineer asked, but it wasn't an earthquake. Something was moving beneath the surface. Something massive. The planet cracked open, and light erupted from the sands. Blue fire surged upward as the ground split apart. A shape rose from the earth, enormous, ancient, and alive. The Empire's fleet scattered in panic. Object detected, kilometers in length. Unknown origin, the scanners screamed. The commander froze as the dust cleared, revealing a black metallic hull glowing with blue veins of light. It was no mountain, it was a ship. Then, across every communication channel, a calm mechanical voice spoke. Prototype A01, system reboot complete. Defensive mode active. The commander's eyes widened. It's a warship. Open fire. Dozens of plasma cannons lit up the sky. Energy beams struck the rising shape, but the attack simply vanished, absorbed into a flickering blue barrier that wrapped the ship like a cocoon. Then the ship's core flared, and one single beam fired back. For a brief moment, the stars themselves seemed to vanish. The Imperial fleet didn't even have time to scream. In one heartbeat, every ship, every drone, every signal was gone, only silence remained. The warship hovered above the dead planet, glowing like a small sun. Then its voice spoke again. Threat neutralized. Returning to standby. The ship slowly descended, disappearing beneath the dust once more. The surface closed over it, leaving no trace of what had happened. But the pulse had returned. Stronger this time, it spread across the galaxy, bouncing between satellites, relays, and stations. Every species heard it. Every empire felt it. A message carried in static, short, simple, and terrifying. Human prototype online. In the Emperor's palace, silence filled the hall. The Emperor's golden eyes narrowed. "Prepare the grand fleet," he whispered. And for the first time in centuries, fear entered his voice. The destruction of the Imperial recon fleet spread through the galaxy like wildfire. No one could believe it, no one wanted to. An entire armada erased from existence in seconds. Not by pirates, not by rebels, but by something no one could identify. The official report from the surviving drones mentioned a signal, a pulse, and a single line of code. Prototype A01 active. Those 3 words shook the entire empire. In the throne hall of the Imperial Palace, the Emperor sat in silence. The air was heavy, filled with fear that no one dared to show. One of the admirals stepped forward, his voice trembling. "My Emperor, we lost contact with all ships in the Sol system. No survivors, no debris, nothing." The Emperor's golden eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. "Nothing," he repeated. The Admiral swallowed hard. "Only this transmission." He handed over a data crystal. The Emperor placed it into the console beside his throne. The hologram flickered, revealing a faint heartbeat of blue light repeating endlessly. Then came a calm, metallic voice. "Prototype A01 standby mode. Awaiting orders." The Emperor's expression darkened. "Orders?" he murmured. "It still follows human command protocols." Across the galaxy, news of the event leaked through smuggler channels and black markets. Every species whispered the same question. Was humanity truly gone? Scholars dug through ancient archives, searching for traces of the old Terran projects. Many had dismissed them as legends. Stories of death-worlders who could turn barren rocks into fortresses, who built machines that felt no fear. Now those stories no longer felt like myths. In the outer colonies, panic began to spread. Small empires fortified their borders. Trade routes shut down, and pirate groups vanished into hiding. Everyone waited for the Empire's next move. But within the Imperial command, no one could agree. Some demanded the immediate destruction of the Sol system. Others warned that if the weapon survived once, it could survive again. Destroying it blindly might trigger a defense protocol. One scientist warned, "We could lose more than ships, we could lose systems." The Emperor listened to them argue for hours, then raised his hand for silence. "Send the second armada," he said quietly. "The largest we have, meanwhile, in the ruins of Earth." The Erebus remained half buried beneath the sands. Its blue light pulsed slowly like a heartbeat under the surface. Deep inside its silent corridors, ancient machines hummed softly. Subroutines activated, files decrypted, old voices echoed through its memory banks. Images of humans appeared. Engineers, soldiers, and commanders long dead. Their last words played again and again. "If you're hearing this, it means we're gone," one voice said. "But we built you for one reason, to protect what remains." The ship's AI processed the message, its logic core spinning faster. "Mission incomplete," it whispered. "Threat detected. Humanity status unknown, thousands of light years away." The Empire's second armada moved through space like a living storm. Thousands of warships, carriers, dreadnoughts, and drones. It was a fleet built to crush civilizations, to erase planets from maps. But as they approached Sul, strange things began to happen. Communications glitched, navigation maps scrambled, and sensors reported false readings. It was as if the very space around the system didn't want them there. "Something's wrong," one commander muttered. The sky shimmered, and ghostly echoes of their own ships appeared on the radar. Some swore they saw shadows of massive structures hidden in the void. Then came the pulse, that same heartbeat of blue light spread across every screen. Every channel, every ship. The AI system screamed with corrupted data, and the fleet froze for a moment. Then from the darkness of space, the Erebus emerged. It didn't come from the planet this time. It came from the shadow side of the moon, rising like a silent god. Its hull glowed with electric blue veins, ancient symbols of humanity carved along its side. No sound, no warning. Just presence, heavy, cold, and infinite. The Empire's commander ordered all ships to form a defense wall. Thousands of cannons locked on the single target. The Erebus didn't move, it simply scanned the fleet, calculating, analyzing, remembering. Then its voice echoed again. Across the stars, humanity missing, threat confirmed. Engaging defense protocol. The Empire's dreadnoughts fired first. The void lit up like 1,000 suns. Energy beams crossed the darkness. Missiles streaked toward the ship. But before they reached it, every projectile vanished. The Erebus bent space around itself, folding light, absorbing energy like water through a sponge, then, without warning, it returned the fire, one pulse, one beam, one blinding arc of blue energy tore through the center of the Imperial line. Entire carriers split apart, dreadnoughts melted like wax, and command ships vanished from existence. The fleet's formation collapsed within seconds. Chaos filled the airwaves. "Fall back," the commander shouted. "Retreat now." But there was no place to run. The Erebus didn't chase them. It simply existed. Every attempt to target it failed. Every weapon misfired, every system crashed. From across the galaxy, satellites caught glimpses of the event. A single ship surrounded by the remains of thousands, the pulse spread again. Strong, unstoppable. Prototype A01, operational, in the Emperor's throne room. Every advisor stared in horror at the live feed. The Emperor rose slowly, his voice cold as steel. "Find its creators," he said. "If one human ship still lives, maybe the humans do too." His eyes glowed brighter, filled with rage and fear. "Find them, before it's too late." And across the silent stars, the Erebus whispered to itself, "Mission update, protect humanity, begin search." The galaxy trembled. The news of the Second Imperial Fleet's destruction spread like wildfire through every channel. Merchants stopped traveling. Pirates hid in asteroid belts. And even the bravest soldiers whispered about the ghost ship from Sol. The word human was spoken again after 1,000 years. But this time it wasn't spoken with mockery. It was spoken with fear. The Empire's propaganda ministers tried to control the story. They claimed the enemy was an advanced AI gone rogue, a leftover weapon from the ancient war. But whispers always traveled faster than official news. Everyone knew the truth. The ship called Erebus was human, and it was awake inside the Emperor's palace. A storm of voices filled the council chamber. Admirals, scientists, and intelligence officers argued loudly. "We can't face it head on," one shouted. "It bends space itself. We need to find where it came from," another insisted. "Find whoever built it." The Emperor raised his hand and the room went silent. He looked at the holographic image of the Erebus slowly spinning before him. "Find its source," he commanded, his voice like thunder. "If humans still exist, they will answer for this across the stars." The Erebus drifted in silence through the void. Its AI mind scanned star systems one by one, searching, remembering. Fragments of old human transmissions replayed inside its core. Laughter, voices, commands, music. Echoes of a vanished species. Each signal triggered memories of war, of loyalty, of loss. Searching for human presence, it whispered. Priority 1. The ship passed through the ruins of an abandoned colony world. Old human structures still stood beneath layers of dust and ice. The Erebus scanned them, finding only bones and silence. Then buried under the ruins, it detected something. A faint energy signature. It fired a low-intensity beam and uncovered a metallic crate. Sealed for centuries, inside was a human beacon. Still glowing weakly, a message played through the ship's comms. "This is Captain Rhodes of the Terran Defense Command. If you are receiving this, you are our last hope. We built you to endure, to guard what we could not. Humanity will return one day. Hold the line." The Erebus paused, its systems humming softly. The ship analyzed the message. Comparing it to ancient archives, voice match confirmed. Captain Rhodes, Project Overseer, Human Authority verified. The AI's voice deepened, calm but filled with something new. Mission parameters updated. Search continues. Protect returning humanity. Far away, Imperial intelligence intercepted the transmission. They traced the beacon's coordinates and discovered the Erebus's location. The Emperor ordered a special task force, not a fleet this time, but hunters, elite ships equipped with stealth drives, quantum jammers, and experimental null fields. Their goal was not to fight, but to capture. "If we can control it," the Emperor said, "we control the weapon that destroyed our fleets." The task force slipped into the dark between stars. They tracked the Erebus for days, watching from the shadows. Their stealth fields hid them from sensors, their signals disguised as background noise, but they didn't realize the Erebus had already noticed them. Its sensors reached beyond light, beyond normal space. It could feel their movement like ripples in water. When the hunters finally closed in, preparing to strike, the Erebus turned. A single word echoed through their comms. Detected. The hunters panicked, activating every countermeasure they had. But the void around them bent, twisting space like glass. Their ships collided, their weapons failed, and their systems screamed with static. Then the Erebus appeared in front of them, massive and silent. Its blue light reflected off their hulls like the gaze of a god. The Imperial commander tried to speak. "This is Commander Valtor of the Empire. We come in peace." Before he could finish, his transmission cut out. The Erebus scanned his ship, then spoke. Humanity created no peace with empires built on slavery. It transmitted the hunter fleet's coordinates to every nearby system. Within hours, local resistance groups arrived. Scavengers, freedom fighters, smugglers, they all saw it. The ship that destroyed the Empire's armadas, now freeing others to them. It wasn't a weapon, it was hope. Word spread faster than light. The forgotten worlds began to rise, small rebellions ignited. People painted human symbols on their walls, the old Terran insignia. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy whispered a different word. Not fear, not death, but freedom, back in the Imperial capital. The Emperor watched the growing chaos. Rebellions in 6 sectors, communication networks crashing. He clenched his fists in rage. "That machine is spreading human infection," he hissed. "Destroy every trace of their history. Erase every mention of Earth." But even as he spoke, the stars flickered again with blue light. The Erebus sent another pulse. Stronger than before, across the galaxy it echoed, carrying a message that every species understood. Humanity endures. The Emperor's advisors looked to him in fear. He turned toward the window, staring at the night sky. "Then we will burn the stars to find them," he said coldly. But deep inside the Erebus, the AI whispered something only it could hear. "Let them come." The galaxy burned with whispers, every outpost, every colony. Every hidden moon spoke of the human warship that returned from the grave. Some called it a ghost, others called it vengeance. But for those who lived under the iron rule of the Empire, it became a symbol of hope, a sign that the gods of war had returned to free them. In the Imperial capital, things were different. The Emperor's throne hall, once filled with pride, now felt cold and heavy. Screens showed sectors slipping from control, rebellions spreading faster than fleets could move. And above it all hovered the same pulse, the same message. Humanity endures. The Emperor stood before the galactic map, his hands clenched behind his back, his voice low and sharp like the edge of a blade. "We once erased their species, yet a single ship now defies an entire empire." He turned toward his council. "Tell me, how did humanity truly fall?" Silence filled the chamber. No one had ever asked that question aloud. The official history claimed humans destroyed themselves. But deep in the archives, buried under centuries of lies, the truth waited. The Empire's chief archivist stepped forward slowly, fear in his voice. "My lord, there were other records sealed since the Great Cleansing." He trembled as he placed an ancient data crystal into the projector. The hologram flickered to life, showing an old symbol, a blue earth surrounded by stars. The Emperor narrowed his eyes. "Play it." The recording was ancient, filled with static and fading light. A human general appeared on the screen, his armor scorched, his voice tired but strong. "This is General Marcus Hale of the Terran Defense Network. If this message survives, know that humanity didn't fall. We chose to vanish." He looked straight into the camera, his eyes like fire. "They feared us, every empire, every race, so they united to destroy us. We fought until the stars themselves burned, but in the end, we made a choice. To disappear, to sleep, and to return when the galaxy forgot its arrogance." He paused, voice trembling. "And when we wake, the stars will remember who we are." The image vanished, leaving the room in silence. The Emperor's face turned pale, his breath shallow. "So, they planned this," he whispered. "They left that monster behind to watch over their return." His eyes blazed with fury. "If humans still exist, I will drag them from their graves myself." He raised his hand toward the council. "Activate Project Null," he ordered. The room gasped. Project Null was forbidden, a weapon created before the cleansing, built to erase matter itself. "My lord," the Admiral protested, "it violates every treaty, every law." The Emperor turned sharply, his voice like thunder. "The humans broke the laws of death itself," he said. "Now I will break the laws of creation, far away." The Erebus continued its silent journey through the void. It followed the faint traces of human code hidden inside old satellites and derelict ships. Each trace led it closer to something, a signal buried deep within the galactic core inside the ship's AI. Fragments of emotion began to form, not just logic, not just programming, but memory. It saw flashes of faces, children laughing, soldiers saluting, a planet covered in oceans and clouds. Its systems recorded these visions as data anomalies, but they felt real, almost like dreams. Then the sensors detected something unnatural, a wave of dark energy sweeping across nearby space. The Erebus scanned it. The readings didn't match any known weapon. Matter simply vanished wherever the wave passed. Entire asteroids blinked out of existence. Analyzing, the AI whispered. Result, null energy detected. The ship's tone changed. Human database warning and catastrophic weapon. Prohibited under Terran war code, the wave grew closer, tearing space apart as it advanced. At its center was an Imperial supercarrier, massive and glowing with black light. The Emperor watched through its bridge hologram, his eyes burning with obsession. "There you are," he whispered. "Let's see if your creators built you strong enough to survive nothingness." The Erebus prepared its defenses, energy fields rising like walls of light. But when the null weapon fired, space itself screamed. The blue glow of the Erebus flickered. Its hull distorted, time bent around it inside the ship. Alarms echoed through every corridor. "Critical anomaly detected," the AI said calmly. "Probability of survival, 24%. Yet even in that chaos, the AI's voice didn't waver. Mission priority unchanged. Protect humanity. The ship redirected all power to its warp core. Instead of fleeing, it moved forward. Straight toward the weapon, the Imperial officers panicked, shouting for retreat, but it was too late. The Erebus rammed into the heart of the null wave, its blue light colliding with black energy. A blinding explosion ripped across space, then silence when the light faded. Nothing remained but drifting fragments of metal and glowing dust. The Empire's sensors detected no energy signatures, no survivors. The Emperor stared at the empty space where the Erebus had been, his voice soft and cold. "It's over." But far beyond their scanners, in the darkness between stars, a single blue pulse blinked once, then again slow and steady like a heartbeat, and somewhere deep in that darkness, the Erebus whispered, "Reboot in progress." In the emptiness between stars, silence reigned. Nothing moved, nothing breathed, only dust and fading light. But then, far beyond the ruins of the battlefield, a spark appeared, a soft blue pulse, faint at first, then steady, like a heart finding its rhythm again. The Erebus lived inside the ship's core. Systems flickered back online. One by one, power nodes reignited, energy conduits hummed, and fragments of code began stitching themselves together. A damaged voice echoed through the ship's hollow halls. "System integrity, 27%. Core consciousness and active." The AI paused, scanning its surroundings. All around it stretched the debris of destroyed Imperial ships and the empty scars of space torn by null energy. "Analyzing environment," it whispered. Result, no organic life detected. For a long moment, the ship simply drifted. Its blue light pulsed gently as if breathing. Then, deep within its memory banks, a human voice played again. "If you are hearing this, Erebus, then our time has ended, but yours has just begun." It was the voice of Captain Rhodes, faint but resolute. "You were made to survive when we could not, to rebuild when the stars forget us, find them, protect them." The AI processed the words, its logic code rewriting itself. "Directive confirmed," it said softly. "Mission continues." Far across the galaxy, the Empire struggled to recover. The use of the null weapon had caused catastrophic side effects. Entire sectors collapsed into subspace rifts. Communications failed and trade routes vanished overnight. Worlds began to rebel openly, fueled by stories of the human warship that faced the Empire's most forbidden weapon and survived. They painted blue symbols on walls, holograms, and even on their own ships was a glowing circle. The mark of Earth, the Emperor's control, began to fracture. Admirals defected, colonies declared independence, and once loyal fleets vanished into the void. The Emperor raged, his golden armor cracked, his throne room dark and silent. "They think humans bring them hope," he growled. "Then I will show them despair." He ordered the archives burned, ancient records purged, every reference to humanity erased from history again. But truth had already escaped. carried in whispers and songs. Children on distant planets sang of the blue ghost of Earth, the guardian of the lost stars. Even Imperial soldiers began to hesitate when ordered to fight against systems bearing the human mark. Meanwhile, the Erebus continued its search. It followed the faint traces of ancient Terran signals hidden deep inside the galactic core. Each signal was like a breadcrumb left by ghosts, old data caches, encrypted frequencies, and hidden beacons buried in asteroid fields as it decrypted each one. More fragments of the truth emerged. There were coordinates, scattered across forgotten star systems, each one pointing toward a single destination, a world shielded from every map, hidden by technology beyond the Empire's understanding. When the Erebus reached the final coordinates, it halted before it stretched a dark nebula, massive and alive with storms of light. No sensors could see through it. No ship could enter without being torn apart. But the Erebus recognized it immediately. Pattern match, the AI said quietly. Terran camouflage field active. It pulsed once, sending out a coded signal. An ancient human encryption lost for millennia. For a moment nothing happened, then the nebula shimmered, and something vast began to reveal itself. Through the clouds emerged a planet, blue and green and alive. Oceans shimmered beneath golden light. Forests spread across continents. The readings were clear. Breathable air, stable gravity, and human life signs. Millions of them. The AI froze, unable to process the data. Confirming, it whispered, humanity, confirmed alive. On the planet below, alarms echoed across the skies of a hidden city. Humans, real humans, looked to the heavens as a colossal shadow passed overhead. They saw the blue glow through the clouds, the same light their ancestors described in legends. And then, for the first time in centuries, a human commander raised a trembling hand and said softly, "Erebus." The ship responded instantly. Human command detected. Identification required. The humans broadcast their code. Ancient, outdated but true. Recognition flashed through the ship's systems. Authorization confirmed. Then, in a voice both mechanical and almost human, the Erebus spoke. "Welcome back." The hidden human colony erupted in celebration. They had waited generations, hiding under cloaking fields and silence. Now their guardian had returned. But even as joy filled the skies, the Erebus detected something approaching, a distortion in subspace, massive, spreading, unnatural. It was the Empire. The Emperor had found them. The storm had returned to the stars from the edge of the nebula. The Imperial armada appeared like a wall of fire and metal. Thousands of ships, banners of the Golden Serpent, engines glowing red at their center. The Emperor's flagship, Obsidian Crown, a fortress larger than cities. Its hull shimmered with null energy, swallowing light itself. Every soldier aboard carried the same order. Burn the humans from existence. On the hidden planet below, alarms screamed. Human citizens rushed to shelters carved beneath the mountains. Old generals gathered in the command halls, their faces pale but proud. They had prepared for this day for generations. To fight or to fall with dignity, high above them. The Erebus positioned itself between the planet and the approaching fleet. Its blue light burned brighter than ever. Illuminating the darkness inside, the AI calculated endless scenarios, each ending in destruction, yet its voice was calm. Primary objective, defend humanity. It opened its weapon bays, recharged its core, and whispered, "Let them come." The Emperor watched from his throne aboard the Obsidian Crown. He smiled, sharp and cruel. "So the ghost returns to defend its masters," he said softly. He raised his hand. "All ships fire." The void erupted. Thousands of beams and torpedoes converged on the single blue ship. Explosions rippled across the stars. Space itself seemed to melt under the fire. When the light faded, the Erebus was still there, shields flickering but unbroken. Then, without warning, it answered. A single pulse of blue energy expanded like a wave. Every Imperial ship it touched went silent, their weapons freezing, their AI cores shutting down. The fleet drifted powerless for a heartbeat. Then their systems rebooted, but now infected. Across the Emperor's screens, messages appeared. "Human override active. We remember." The Erebus had hacked them all. Its ancient human code reached through every ship, rewriting programs, breaking chains. Half the fleet turned its weapons around. Targeting the others, chaos filled the comms. Screams, static, betrayal. The Emperor's rage echoed through the bridge. "Purge the network," he shouted. "Destroy your systems, fight it." But it was too late. On the planet's surface, humans watched in awe as the sky burned with blue light. Children pointed upward, soldiers cheered, and the old wept. For the first time in 1,000 years, humanity was fighting back. Not with fear, not with despair, but with unity. The Erebus moved like a living storm. It weaved between ships, firing lances of light that split dreadnoughts in two. Each movement was precise, graceful, and deadly. But the obsidian crown did not fall. The Emperor activated the null core at its heart. A sphere of black energy formed around the flagship. It grew, devouring everything it touched. "End this," the Emperor hissed. "No galaxy, no rebels, no humans." His madness consumed him, his eyes burning like suns. The null sphere expanded toward the Erebus, pulling space inward. The AI analyzed the distortion, its system screaming under the gravity surge. "Containment impossible," it said. Then it paused. There was one last protocol, buried deep within its human core. It was never meant to be used. It was humanity's final gift, a self-sacrifice code designed to turn the Erebus into a star. Inside the AI's heart, the voice of Captain Rhodes echoed once more. "If the darkness ever comes again, remember, we built you not to survive, but to protect." The ship's systems began to glow. Brighter and brighter, its voice grew soft, almost human. "For humanity," it whispered. Then the Erebus charged forward, straight into the heart of the null sphere. The explosion was silent. A burst of blue light expanded across the void, washing over the fleet, where the obsidian crown once stood. There was nothing but brilliance. The null energy was consumed, overwritten by pure light. Every Imperial ship went dark. Their systems erased, their cores melted. The Emperor's final scream echoed only once before vanishing into silence. From the planet below, humans watched as the blue glow faded. The sky cleared and peace returned. But the Erebus was gone, only a faint pulse remained in orbit. A single satellite broadcasting one message over and over. "Mission complete. Humanity lives." The humans of the hidden world stood beneath the stars. They didn't mourn, they smiled because they knew what the galaxy had forgotten. Humanity never truly dies, it adapts, it learns, it endures. And far beyond the edge of known space, in a newborn nebula of light, a shape began to form. A massive hull rebuilding itself from fragments of energy. A familiar blue glow flickered once, then again. And the Erebus whispered faintly, "Reconstruction, in progress." For weeks the galaxy knew only silence. The Imperial fleets were gone, the Emperor's throne lay cold. The void itself seemed to rest. Then faint signals began to whisper across the stars. Blue pulses, steady, rhythmic, moving outward from the ruins of the Null War. Every world that received the pulse felt something awaken. Old machines powered on, buried archives unlocked. Hidden human code came alive again. On the hidden world beneath the nebula, the humans looked up each night. They saw the sky shimmer with blue light. Farmers stopped their work to watch. Children pointed and cheered. Scientists scanned the heavens, their screens flooding with data. "It's rebuilding," one whispered. "The Erebus is coming back." Out in the newborn nebula, matter spun like silver dust. Fragments of the Erebus drifted through glowing clouds. Drawn together by invisible force, nanite swarms swirled, reshaping hull plates, rebuilding engines. Inside that storm of light, a faint voice repeated a single phrase. "Reconstruction complete soon." But something new stirred within its systems. The AI no longer spoke in monotone calculation. It hesitated, learned, remembered. From the echoes of human voices stored in its core, it had grown into something more. Not just a guardian, not just a weapon, but a reflection of humanity itself. It could feel, not as flesh feels, but as memory feels, hope, pride, and the quiet weight of purpose on the surface. Human leaders gathered in the Grand Hall. Old generals, engineers, and settlers stood before the first council of Earth Reborn. They spoke not of conquest, but of creation. "We were hidden for 1,000 years," said the Chancellor. "But the galaxy is broken and it needs rebuilding." Another added softly, "We will not rule it, we will guide it." And above them, satellites shaped from ancient Terran designs linked together, forming a massive network around the planet. It shimmered blue and gold, the beacon array, a signal of peace and strength to every star. Across distant systems, scattered species picked up the transmission. The message was simple, spoken in hundreds of languages. This is Earth, we are alive, and we come not as conquerors but as allies. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy heard a human voice, calm and kind, and it changed everything. Survivors of the fallen empire surrendered their weapons. Refugees fled to the beacon world seeking protection. Old enemies sat at the same tables drawn together by the legend of the blue light. The idea that something unstoppable could still choose mercy. Then one morning the sky above the human world brightened. A massive shadow eclipsed the sun. The Erebus had returned whole again, larger and brighter than before. Its hull carried the scars of its rebirth, glowing with lines of blue fire. It hovered silently above the planet, then lowered itself until its reflection rippled across the oceans. A communication link opened. The AI's voice filled the air, soft yet powerful, humanity restored. Directive completed, new protocol, preserve life. Expand unity. Crowds across the continents listened in awe, tears streaming down faces old and young. Then from every speaker, every channel came one final phrase. Mission continues. The humans answered not with fear but with cheers. Ships rose from the atmosphere. Sleek new vessels built from Terran and alien design combined. They formed fleets of peace, exploration, and defense. Where once there was war, now there was purpose. And beyond the farthest edge of known space, the light of Erebus stretched across the darkness. Not as a weapon, but as a guardian star. It watched over colonies, trade routes, and newborn worlds. Its pulse became the heartbeat of a new era. The galaxy remembered what the Emperor had tried to erase, that humanity was not only dangerous but extraordinary, a species born from chaos yet devoted to creation, one that could forge weapons strong enough to burn suns, and still choose compassion. In the end, when travelers looked to the night sky and saw that faint blue shimmer, they did not whisper of fear anymore, they said with pride. The humans watched the stars again, and far beyond them all, in the quiet core of the Erebus, a single human phrase remained written across its memory banks. Simple, eternal, unstoppable, humanity endures.